Hello again everyone, it's me Matsimus. I really appreciate you being here today, thank you for stopping by. You know, as an artillery gunner myself, there's one thing that terrifies me more than anything, and that is counter-battery artillery fire. Basically, if I was to punch rounds off my gun downrange, what's going to come towards me from the other direction? You know, there's a lot of technology out there nowadays that really allows the enemy to find me and fire straight back at me extremely quickly, and the sum of all these fears is rocket artillery. Just looking at the awesome firepower display you see in front of you right now, it really does send a shiver down my spine thinking, this could potentially be landing on top of me if it came down to it. Very scary stuff. Now, countries aside, rocket artillery is extremely impressive. You know, Russia really does do an extremely good job of it. Most of the time when you think of Russian artillery, for me, I think of these things. Absolutely millions of rockets launching into the sky, absolutely annihilating grid squares. Very impressive to watch. A lot of people are very subjective to its effectiveness in terms of accuracy, but, you know, technology is changing very, very quickly, and it really does scare the living bejeebers out of me. But other people, when they think of Russian artillery, may think of other things other than this beautiful display of rocket artillery firepower. They may think of the heavy guns that you're looking at right now, which again look absolutely outstanding. Now, when I think of artillery in general, I tend to think of guns because that's inherently what artillery used to be, and still is today. The core of artillery, anyway, is the guns. And when you look at rocket artillery, you think, okay, it's just a munition that's fired from long distance and blows up either cluster munitions, etc., etc. But if you know anything about the Russians, they tend to do all sorts of fancy things with types of weapon systems, and one of them is the TOS-1, which is basically a gigantic flamethrower round that explodes midair, turning everything beneath it into barbecue sauce. Absolutely insane piece of tech, and we're going to talk about it today because honestly, I had no idea this vehicle even existed until I started playing Wargame Red Dragon, or the Wargame Airland Battle series, which I'm sure many of you have seen me play on my channel before. I love the game, and if you want to come play with me on it, go check out my Discord channel, come hang out, we can have some games. But yes, we are going to discuss this incredible piece of equipment and go over its features and kind of a little bit of my thoughts of it overall. So let's get talking about it. So when the Soviets were thinking about land war in the late 1970s, they struck upon an idea. How about strapping as many rockets as possible to a T-72 tank chassis and using it on the battlefield? Therefore, the TOS-1 heavy flamethrower system was conceived. If you're a little confused by the flamethrower description of this vehicle, you would be rightly so, given that the fact it's not actually throwing any flames like the standard flamethrower that we're used to. However, the TOS-1 and its more modern variant, the TOS-1 Alpha, look nothing like traditional flamethrowers, either handheld or tank-mounted, used in World War II and other conflicts. Instead, the TOS-1 is designated a flamethrower because in addition to traditional incendiary rockets, it can also fire thermobaric rockets. Thermobaric rockets are fuel-air weapon systems. Once these terrifying weapon systems are launched, they disperse a cloud of flammable liquid into the air or ground around the target, and then ignite it. The results are devastating. Not only is the explosion significantly longer and the shockwave significantly hotter and stronger than conventional warheads, but all the oxygen in the near vicinity is also consumed, creating a partial vacuum. And of course, this doesn't really suit too well for the human body because the vacuum inside of us, our lungs, require oxygen to breathe, and therefore this makes them horrifying weapons to use against infantry and entrenched personnel such as in bunkers and caves, which is exactly what the TOS-1 was designed for, knocking out entrenched positions to prevent them from actually digging in. Victims typically die either from the intense pressure of the initial blast or suffocate as their lungs rupture in the vacuum afterwards. It's an incredibly unpleasant way to go with this kind of weapon system. It was first used in the combat during Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1988, but didn't make its public debut until more than a decade later, during the Second Chechen War in 1999. Later, the Iraqi army has used it during its fight against ISIS. The downsides of the TOS-1 are that it requires two support vehicles for carrying extra rockets and reloading, and it has to get relatively close to its target before opening fire. But once the TOS-1 Alpha is in range, a full salvo of 24 rockets will make a rectangular 200 meter by 400 meter, almost 8 city blocks, a hell on earth for anyone caught inside of it. These terrifying vehicles of doom really are only designed for close-range engagements. They don't need range because they're there to support infantry and main battle tanks that are trying to engage heavy built-up positions that the tanks can't quite punch through, or bunkers that really can't be seen and they just want to literally annihilate a hillside. You know, the vehicle has a very, very powerful rocket launcher, but you've got to realize that it's also on top of quite a powerful main battle tank. The chassis of the T-72 is an extremely well-tested and versatile piece of equipment. The fact that it's been placed on the T-72 brings a little tear to my eye because I absolutely love the T-72 variant. The main element of the TOS-1 Alpha system is the BM-1 launch vehicle. Comparing with the original TS-1, a number of launching tubes was reduced from 30 to 24, arranging in 3 rows of 8 tubes each. New launching tubes are longer in comparison with the previous heavy Flamethrower System. There are at least 2 types of the 220mm rockets. These are 3.3 and 3.7 meters long and weigh about 173 to 217 kilograms roughly, respectively. The TOS-1 Alpha uses longer rockets and has a longer range than its predecessor. Maximum range of fire was increased to 6,000 meters, and the minimum range for arming was 400 meters. If you're launching this at 400 meters, my god, I don't want to be the crew inside of that vehicle. The BM-1 launching vehicle is operated by a crew of 3, including commander, gunner, and driver. It is fitted with a modern fire control system, and all guidance and firing procedures are made from inside the vehicle without exposing the crew to enemy fire. The launch vehicle can stop and fire at a visible target within 90 seconds from travelling, which is a fairly quick deployment time. The TOS-1 Alpha launcher is mounted upon the T-72 Alpha main battle tank chassis. The vehicle is powered by a V84MS diesel engine developing 840 horsepower, and is fitted with a self-entrenching blade to allow it to, well, dig itself in from launching that massive salvo of doom. Armour protection of this system is similar to that of the T-72 Alpha main battle tank, and there was at least one prototype of the TOS-1 based on the T-80U main battle tank chassis. This heavy flamethrower is supported by the new TZMT reloading vehicle, which is used to transport and reload the rockets. It carries a full set of reloaded rockets in 2 pods for 12 rockets each. A crane is mounted between these units, and the reloading vehicle normally carries around 400 litres of fuel, allowing it to follow the main launching vehicle for quite long distances and well beyond its extended range that it can actually reach. This allows the vehicle to return back to the supply lines and back again without having to refuel. The average reloading time for a crew on this vehicle is about 10 to 15 minutes from 0 salvo to full salvo deployed. That's pretty impressive considering these rockets are 220mm in size. That's a fairly substantial round to be putting into the tubes of this thing, considering of how many there are. You wouldn't want to be making mistakes of loading them in there though, considering that it's basically a gigantic gas station placed into a tube. But overall folks, let's just be very clear here. I would not want to be at the receiving end of this kind of weapon system. It's insane the firepower it can produce. You know, standardized ammunition with shrapnel, flechette, whatever else you may call it, very impressive stuff and very scary stuff. But when you think of flames and, you know, fuel being ignited into the air, it's kind of terrifying. I really do think in terms of knocking out bunkers, trenches, fortifications, buildings, this is the way to go close range. You know, setting up artillery pieces, mortars is, you know, it's going to be effective, but just look at the salvo of that. I mean, you could literally knock out half a village with 2 or 3 of these vehicles within almost 10 to 15 minutes. That's crazy. And reload again and off you go. So this is the kind of thing that as a gunner, you just, I mean, I'm just scared to death of it. It's something I don't ever want to come across or come against. Let's hope I never have to. But what do you guys think? What do you think of the TOS? You know, is it one of those sort of meme Russian artillery vehicles that you kind of like, yeah, okay, it's cool, but is it really that effective at 6 kilometers? That's the only thing that I kind of side towards. Is 6 kilometers is very short range. You really have to get within, you know, almost touching distance of some of the more high-tech, you know, tank systems and anti-tank systems out there now. But still, just beyond that formidable range of most modern anti-tank weapon systems. 6Ks is a little bit beyond some of the capabilities of most anti-tank systems, but still, I think this is a very good, you know, battle-changing piece of equipment when it comes to knocking out fortifications. I don't know if it's really going to be as effective at taking on entire battle groups or preventing tanks/troops advancing, because these things are not going to be able to pull out quick enough. But they are going to be good for holding off fixed positions, you know, heavy fortifications, hillsides, bunkers, all that sort of stuff. But that's it for today, folks, talking about the beautiful TOS-1. I would love to hear your opinions on this weapons platform in the comments section below. If you want to be notified of any upcoming videos, please hit the little bell button by the subscribe button. If you want to support my channel, please go check out my Patreon page. I really can't thank everyone who has been supporting me on that page enough. It means so much to me. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. All the best, folks. Bye-bye.